Hi, I'm Kevin Thomas, W1DED, and this is Q5 Ham Radio. South Georgia is one of the rarest and most demanding entities in ham radio. Tonight, Rune LA7THA and Erwann LB1QI join me to talk about Victor Papa Zero Sugar Golf, a planned 2027 DXpedition that has already secured its expedition vessel, the MV Meridian, moving this effort from vision to reality. They're here to tell us more about the trip, what it'll take to activate South Georgia, and how you could be part of making it happen. This episode of Q5 Ham Radio is powered by ICOM, innovative radios trusted by amateur operators across the globe. Rune, Erwann, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Start from the beginning. Amateur Radio DXpeditions, that's the group that you have formed to do a number of expeditions. Tell me about that. When did that get formed, and were you two always involved with that?
The group was actually born for the last Bouvet project. I guess it was the Amateur Radio DXpedition non-profit organization. Was born in 21 or 22 before the last 3Y0J expedition.
And tell me about the expeditions that have been done in the past.
Well, we have done a few. We have been doing some Africa trips earlier on, and then we were a group there that actually we just merged into the ARD group. So we have done from back in 2002 to São Tomé. We did the Zimbabwe Z2LA. We have done 7 Papa 8, 9 Juliet 2, Victor 55, and we have done Juliet Whiskey 0 Whiskey, 3Y0J, and now it's going to be VP0SG.
And actually we met on our first expeditions with Rune going to Svalbard to Prince Karl Forland, Juliet Whiskey 0 Whiskey. It was quite of a test while we were anticipating to go to Bouvet. And I arrived from France, as you might hear, not Norwegian, in 2018, and then I started to be interested by radio, and I met Rune, and we both share a deep passion for DX and the expeditions, and we tested ourselves on the cold shores of Svalbard, and one thing after another, we went to Bouvet.
Clearly, the two of you and the group that you belong to have a lot of experience doing this, and to do it multiple times, there must be some higher level of enjoyment that you get out of it than some. I have interviewed some people that have gone on DXpeditions, and they will quietly tell me, never again. It was too arduous. So tell me, what is it that brings you guys back?
I think you need to have a taste for adventure, definitely. And I'm not coming from a very cold country, but also for us, we have a strong attraction for cold places. We are going again to the Southern Atlantic after Bouvet. Now we are going to South Georgia Island. So I think, speaking for myself, I think the journey is part of the thrill. Of course, being behind the radio and contacting so many amateur radio around the world is really the key. But preparing and enjoying the travel is part, to me, is part of what make it so special.
I guess the other part of it for me, when I talk to people that are doing DXpeditions, the logistics involved are intense. So I've got to believe there's something that comes from having experience. When you get ready to do the next one, you already have some sort of a checklist and know which contacts you need to make. Rune, is that true?
No, that is true, of course. You start with the small things, and as you get along, you get the more experience, and you learn from the faults you are doing and what to do quicker and easier. You still get a good log of Excel sheets, spreadsheets, and things that makes things easy for you when you're planning your next trip.
And I think you learn also by doing. And as you said, every time we come back from an expedition, we have learned things, and we adapt for the next one. We started with Svalbard and seeing all the logistic with the tent would work. Of course, Bouvet was more than a test. It was a huge work over 3 years of preparations. And we come back very strong from this experience to the next VP0 Sierra Golf expedition. We have learned so much. And as Rune said, we have a lot of preparations ready because we have lived that before.
So I guess the other element for me is you have a lot of institutional knowledge, the two of you and probably some of the other team members. What's it like to bring somebody brand new aboard that hasn't either done an expedition before or maybe just hasn't done an expedition with you? What kind of vetting do you go through to choose those people?
Well, we basically have an interview with everyone. You have to try to understand the person you are going to bring with you. Well, much can be said about how to be a super operator and so on, but of course, a team player is just as important, if not even more important, for such a trip. You're going to stay together for 4 weeks, and when people get tired, and that is when you start to see, okay, what guy is this? Yeah.
It's for us also an occasion to bring new operators into this activity. As you've seen in the team, we have very experienced operators, either contesters or the expeditioners, Rune and myself, but also Erwann, who's also a co-leader. We've been to extreme places, let's call it this way. But what we would like to do as well is to introduce new operators in the expedition worlds, because we are not getting younger. So we need young bloods and people ready to take over.
So let's get into South Georgia, VP0SG. Why South Georgia? Why was that on your list for 2027?
As we went to our last Bouvet trip, we actually passed South Georgia, south of the island. And it was just there, so majestic and so nice. And yeah, then that will maybe be a target next time.
And also, South Georgia has been activated, it's 10 years ago now, by the Intrepid DX group, led by 6 PS people. And I think it was time for another team to visit this fantastic place. It's really pristine and it's a very attractive place to go to.
So tell us where you are in the planning process. I've been to your website. It looks like you have the full team selected. It'd be nice if you could go through some of those names for us. But also, I think you have committed to the ship. I think it's maybe called the Meridian. But what other things have you put in place to prepare for 2027?
I guess you, Erwann, can go with the planning process that's basically started in January 6th or 11th last year.
Well, the first key element when you're going into such an expedition that has no airport or no other facilities is to find a suitable vessel that we could bring the team safely close the shore to South Georgia. And we have been lucky to find a very nice, strong vessel called, as you mentioned, Meridian, that is operated by the experienced company 60 South. And so the first step was to sign a contract with them. And they understood our constraint when it comes to founding. They understand also the need to be available for shift going on shore, going back. So first was to sign a contract, which is done now. We have paid our first deposit, which means that the boat is secured. And the next step was, of course, to have a team, a full team of experienced people to go with us. And as Rune mentioned before, we have been through interviews, and now the team is completed. We have 14 operators that range from very young operators. We have Violetta with us. She is a very young operator, and we have people that have been on so many expeditions that I think it would be give a full range of range. We all have different backgrounds, and that was also important for us to see what people have done before, that they have outdoors experiences. So now we have the team, and once you have the team on the vessel, I mean, you're not there yet because we have to find the funds. So we are now in the process of contacting club foundations to finance the budget for this expedition that is today close to $400,000.
So tell me more about the funding. Obviously, you're going to the significant clubs, and we all know those names, and people like DX Engineering probably, but you're also looking for individual donations, I presume.
Yes, we do. So basically, as we have done with our other expedition, and like for Bouvet, you of course you sending out an email to all the clubs around, and of course you have the big key players like Northern California East Foundation and Indexa. Of course, without any help from them, this basically ain't gonna happen. So yeah, it's kind of in the situation we are with South Georgia. We still waiting our landing permit, and of course the big like Northern California East Foundation, they will not give us any money before that landing permission is in place. Which we understand, of course.
Yes, this is also a part that is important in the process that I didn't mention before when I discussed about the vessel and the team. Of course, South Georgia Island is a giant natural reserve. It's a well-preserved place, one of the most wildlife dense place on Earth. Millions of penguins, seals, elephant seals. And we can understand that the authorities are trying to protect this environment as much as they can, and we fully understand. So we have been through an application process where we had to describe in very much details our logistic, our plans, or we would make sure that there's no safety issues or biosecurity, or what were our biosecurity measure to make sure that there's no pollution, contamination. And we have been through this process. The application has been sent, and we have already received very positive feedback from the government of South Georgia and South Sandwich. They have not yet delivered the landing permission, and the reason is that they have a process in place where they deliver the applications, or sorry, the authorizations only the year before the expedition takes place. So we will only receive our formal landing permission around June of this year, all going well. And I think I would say all light are green coming from them. It's just that we need the paper. And as Rune mentioned, when it comes to founding, this is the key. The call sign is already delivered, but that's not the most difficult part. Once we have the landing permission, then we will be able, I think, to get more attention from clubs and foundations. We already have received some support from clubs and from individual as well. And as you said, we welcome donations to help these dreams come true.
So the funding's in process. You have the ship, you have the team. Tell me about equipment. I suppose after you've done as many DXpeditions as you have, you probably have a starting point, or is it customized for every location?
Well, when it comes to the radio equipment, or not only the radio, actually, for instance, for our camp, in this case for South Georgia, and also due to the biosecurity, we will operate on the island. We have an operating tent, and we will change the crew like twice a day or 3 times a day. We're gonna sleep and eat on the vessel. When it comes to the equipment, yes, of course, you gaining some experience. In our case now, we gonna try to have 5 radios in the main camp, and if everything goes well, we're gonna have 3 in-band radios, basically placed some 600 to 700 meters away from the main camp. These gonna be operated basically via remote desktop, and is kind of meant to be for FT8. And the communication between the in-band station and the main camp is gonna be via gigahertz link.
So if I'm doing the math, are you going to have 5 operators on island at all times and then the others remote?
I will guess we will have 6 on the island, because there is in the main tent is going to be 5 operating position basically for human modes, and the 6th position or the 6th seat in the main tent is going to be that one person can, for instance, operate three remote in-band radios at the same time. Yeah.
The travel there and the funding aside, what is the biggest challenge that you think you'll face?
Well, you know, South Georgia is well, you cannot compare South Georgia to Bouvet in terms of accessing the island. That is pretty easy because it's like in a fjord. We are going to stay in the exactly same location as the group that was there in 2016. That was organized by N6PSE. And I think the biggest challenge is probably the weather anyway, when it comes to wind and weather. I think that's going to be the most challenging thing. You can be lucky and have some nice days, you know, or you can be unlucky and it's going to be a full-time repair shop, you know.
What sort of preparation do you do as a team? Do you get together as a team beforehand?
Yes, we actually planning to have a gathering now in June, 4th to 7th of June in Oslo. This is going to be at the LN8W contest station, the same place we were for 3Y0J. So it looks like all 14 operators is going to be there, and we're going to have a planning, testing of equipment, putting up the tents, and just be together and see how we work as a team.
And also in between, we have regular team meeting, and we have chat channels where everyone can discuss. It's, I think, already creating quite of a bond between the operators. And the teams meeting are, of course, a bit more formal, and the aim are to, of course, update the team about our progress first when it came to the vessel, and now with the application and every technical aspect of the expedition. But we will split the team in a smaller team. Some will work on the antenna, and they already did. Some others will work on what we call ancillaries, which means you know, the tents and the heaters and everything that is non-radio. And some other groups will work on the pure logistics. So everybody is involved. We try to involve everyone, so everyone feels that is part of this adventure, not like a passenger, but a real actor of this expedition. And we really want everyone to try to learn. Of course, we all know we don't know everything. We all learn something by doing. So that's why we try to keep people together.
And how do you deal with the ham radio community's demands? We all know this is a thing, that the community has certain expectations of you and what bands you're going to be on, what modes. I'm sure you've collected that information in the past. A lot of teams have team pilots to try to coordinate that during the expedition. What strategies or tactics do you have to deal with that?
When it comes to the pilots, I have not really decided that yet. And there is a reason for this. We are thinking that today, with the Starlink, and you can kind of inform when you're going to start operating. We're going to have live logging and all these things. We will have a person as a contact person. So for any well, whatever extraordinary can go through this to this person. But as a pilot, not yet kind of really decided that.
I think, as Rune mentioned, with the modern communication means that we have, we will keep contact with everyone. We'll adapt to the propagation. We are, of course, working on models that are available, and we will adapt in real time to the propagation that we'll find there, and try to overcome maybe some difficulties with some countries that are maybe not that easily reachable. But from our studies, the QTH that should be assigned to us will be working almost everywhere.
So, gentlemen, I really appreciate you joining me today. Clearly, funding is probably the most important thing on the table right now. Where should people go if they would like to donate toward the DXpedition?
So if people want to know more about our expedition, VP0SG, they can visit our website. It's ardxpeditions.com, ARD like amateur radio DXpeditions.com, where you will find a link and a page dedicated to the association, but also to the expedition. And you can follow our news on our Facebook page. And the name of the page is, of course, Amateur Radio DXpeditions.
Well, thank you both for joining me.
Thank you.
My name is Kevin Thomas, W1DED. I've been with Rune LA7THA and Erwann LB1QI. They're planning on VP0SG South Georgia in 2027. Please check out their website. Please donate if you can. 73.